Blindspot Season 2, Episode 14, Borrow or Rob. Of course, Rich.com comes back is going to be a funny episode, and I really like this, and I think they did a really good job with his character. He wasn't as sarcastic as he normally was. Like, he was more sarcastic with the religion stuff that he was doing, but so I guess he kind of was, it just didn't feel as sarcastic, but he definitely was. But I like the way they did it because he was going through some stuff where he's dealing with like old friends and this old secret organization, so it was still a really different thing where, you know, normally they have him help out and it's just like, oh, we got this, we'll go through this, we'll go through that, and most of the time he's just playing them anyway. But in this one he was legitimately scared. He was freaked out, like, holy crap, they used this in order to basically say, let's start a war. And so he has to go through this situation. He has to go through it with his ex-boyfriend now after, I guess they just broke up. As soon as they got captured, that was pretty much it for them because they don't really give any explanation. I'm assuming it's just, we got captured, so now we're done. So that seemed to be how it was. They just instantly got mad. But the way they go about this episode, I really enjoyed because most of it, it's the main mission. We have the characters going through this mission with Rich and his ex, which I wish I could remember his name. They said his name a million times, and I swear I just can't think of his name. But they go through this mission with these two, and we have Weller on the inside and we have Patterson on the inside, which they make a reference to the fact that they never actually say her first name, when I've never even remotely paid attention to that, but I thought that was really funny when they mentioned it. And so we have them on the inside, and they're going through, they're trying to figure out, how do we get the information from this guy who they believe is the one, like this crazy tech billionaire. They believe he's the one that's dealing in, you know, trying to start this war because his company is like the highest procurer of lithium because he has I believe he's the one that has like energy efficient cars and stuff like that. So it was interesting how it just went about. It was very simple at first. They go through and it's like, all right, well, Weller and Rich can't get in because Rich made enemies, typical. But the way they got in, I thought was really funny. He's like, okay, this is the closet, and so they kicked the door in. He's like, okay, so I see what they did. They took out the closet and opened it up for, you know, all of this. That's good. That's really good, but not for us. And of course, they get surrounded. But the actual villain, who we don't realize is the villain, he comes in and he's like, hey, these guys are good. Everything's fine. So they go about their business, and technically both these guys were really involved because they made it seem like, okay, this is actually all a mistake and everything, but by the end of the episode, he's the one in the car with Borden, so they were all actually involved. He was just, it was a little bit easier for him to be detached because he was the one they were doing all the research on, and then when they finally get the info, it's like, oh, this doesn't make any sense that he'd be there. So I actually like that it played out that way, where it seemed like, oh, they got the wrong guy, and it's sort of the switch in the middle where it ends up being a totally different bad guy. And then we got to the end, it's like, nope, they were actually all involved. He just happened to have a better backstory, I guess, where he wasn't able to get captured despite all the evidence that they were looking into. It was like, still didn't seem to make sense. So he was definitely well protected by Sandstorm. And even Borden mentions, like, you need to relax, like, we can't do phase 2 without you. So whatever they're doing with I would assume they're doing something with the lithium batteries. If he's been the, you know, highest buyer, it's not just his company. A large chunk of that is probably going to Sandstorm, and it just seems like, oh, we need all of this for the company. But it makes a lot of sense because when they showed that chart, his was like all the way up in the red, and the second one like was kind of there, you know, in the orange, but it wasn't even fully in the orange. And I'm assuming that was, you know, of course, in like millions or possibly billions of units. So it was very interesting how it was like such a big difference even from the second largest buyer. And I'm sure like a lot of that excess is going straight to Sandstorm. So we'll probably see like the lithium come back, and it'll probably be through, maybe possible, you know, it's possible that it's going to be crazy tech or just bombs in general. The lithium can definitely explode. That's been a recent thing in phones lately. So they can do some stuff with that where, you know, they make it for bombs. But the way it all played out, I thought was really cool. And the story was actually really interesting because we have Rich and Weller actually getting along pretty well in this episode. And it starts when they're in that tunnel segment where he's explaining, like, putting the car on, disassembling the car and putting it on the roof. And Weller kind of smiles at that. And he's like, you know, I've almost been suspended a couple of times myself. And so, as Rich mentions, they were having a moment. Of course, once that's recognized, Weller's like, no, and he, you know, tries to escape from it. But they were getting along in this episode, and Patterson and the other dude, they definitely got along by the end of the episode, talking about ex-boyfriends and how crazy that stuff was. And they end up surviving together during the end fight sequence, and he like hits the dude with the paint can and stuff, and he gets the thumbs up. So they actually bond really well by the end of this episode. We find out that the art piece that he was looking at was actually a piece that he created himself in the past. And I thought that was pretty cool when they did that. And it's like, how does someone like this turn into such, a famous criminal? He's like, well, I follow my heart. And I thought that was really interesting. Just, he didn't seem upset about it or have any regrets. It was like, that's just what happened. That's the way it is. And Rich still has feelings for him, which he reveals at the end of the episode. He's like, I'll help you guys with a tattoo, but you have to get him to like a minimum security prison. So we'll probably see them as an actual couple again once they show up in the next season or later this season. Who knows? But I really like the way they utilized them in this episode, and they weren't nearly as antagonistic as they normally are. They typically, even when they seem like they're being the heroes, like last time, they end up being the bad guys, and that's just, it just worked. So I love that this one, it was like, yep, we're just helping you, and there's no extra scams that they were pulling off, or could have possibly pulled off, because considering how genius both of those guys are, there's probably something they could have done in the middle of that mission, and it totally would have made sense for them to be able to escape once again. But everything kind of just went through. Well, Rich got shot twice, which I thought was actually kind of funny. But, ultimately, everything kind of works out. Like, they helped out the FBI, and they went back to prison. There was nothing extra crazy about it. They were just themselves doing the mission. It was actually really fun to watch that. So I love the way that they did the mission there. The side mission was actually with Nas, Jane, and I'm totally forgetting his name. Like, I can't even think of it. I'm totally drawing up. Like, I can think of Remy, but I can't think of her brother's name. I can think of her fake name, or I guess it's her real name. But her brother, I've totally drawn a blank on his name, and I have no idea why. But their sort of mission to help him remember things, very interesting. I like the way it was so small. It was like very, very short snippets. But he was great in this episode. Like, I really loved it when they go to the first house. And it's just, every time he freaks out about it, all I think is it's getting closer and closer to that truth. And every time we have a moment like this where he flips out because he can't remember and he only feels like that rage from what happened to him, all I think is, man, they're building up this rage that he has for Shepard. And we all know that at some point, somehow, it's going to get revealed. Maybe they'll be doing what they did in this episode, and Sandstorm will just happen to be around. They kind of mentioned that in this, like, what if it's a trap and they're waiting for us? That's probably what's going to happen the next time they decide to take him out in the field to try to, regain his memories. But he was losing it. Like, she did this to me and she did this to you as well. Where's your rage and where's your hatred? And I was like, man, it's just building up. And they know, like, they even look at each other when he leaves. Like, Nas looks at Jane, and it's just like, this isn't going to go well. Like, it's going to end really, really bad. And now they have another secret because, of course, he does end up having a memory where we find out that he actually killed probably one of the few people that Weller was actually close to. He's only close to, at this point, his sister and his nephew. That's it. He wasn't close to his father. His mother's been gone for a long time. This was like the other mother figure in his life who he bonded with. And she's killed in a car crash, which was referenced in the show. And we find out that the Sandstorm was all a part of that because they were about to implement the plan to kind of put Jane in. And it was just crazy the way it all went about. It's like, Weller can't learn this from Nas. It'll be easier coming from me. And of course, Jane decides to hide that. So that will get revealed at some point. He'll probably go crazy and there will be some big brawl. Who knows, Shepard might somehow be involved in that, and all these truths start getting revealed, and she tries to turn everybody against each other. So it's going to be crazy. They're just building up on the secrets within the team. Things are getting just crazier in general with these memories, and he's getting closer and closer to the truth. Extra secrets with Weller, and then of course we have Reed in this episode who decides he's going to start doing drugs. He did it for the whole weekend, we find out, and he decides like, okay, well, I'm on the clock now. And so the girl leaves, and of course she's got drugs laying around his house, and he's about to pour it out, and he takes a sniff. So that's going down a real bad path, because he's going to be real effed up. And it's easy to know when someone's on cocaine, like they reference it in the episode. He's already looking sluggish. He was super tired because he came off of a weekend high on cocaine, so that'll probably do it. That's a real downer once you kind of let that go and your body starts to have like instantaneous withdrawals because that's such a powerful drug. And he's doing more of it, and we'll see how that plays out, but I'm sure it won't be good. So that's just gonna be crazy. Hopefully Zapata will come in, and that's when they can finally have their relationship. She just like puts the other girl out of the way, and it's like, I'm gonna help you, and she helps him, and then they just officially end up together. So not how I thought that would go, but that might be how they just officially end up together. But ultimately, I really enjoyed this episode. I'm excited for where they're headed. You know, Roman got it. Where Roman is headed as far as gaining his memories and stuff like that. The secret with Weller, it's, I mean, he's going to try to contain himself, I know, but as soon as that comes out, all he's going to do is see Roman as the guy that he was in the past, where he was just this crazy killer guy. So it's a jumble. You know, they got so many mysteries going on, and the Truman Protocol thing, which was referenced in the beginning of this episode, kind of went nowhere. They don't have any references to it. I'm sure that'll pop up. It's like there is no this, or there's no files on this or files on that. They'll find something, so that's gonna happen. It'll be fine. But I really like this episode. It was cool to see Rich come back. He's always really funny, but they did it in a pretty unique way where he wasn't tricking them or anything like that. It just played out the way that it did. So I certainly enjoyed that. The other side stories I thought were really well done. Really worried about Reed. I was hoping that it wouldn't happen, but it just sucks. Like, it's just getting worse and worse for him. And now it's actually something he's done, because he didn't actually kill that guy, but he's taking drugs for real. So who knows? Zapata is probably going to be the one to help, and that just makes the most sense. But I'm excited for where they're headed next. Of course, would love to know what you guys thought about this episode, so please comment below. Let me know your favorite parts, your least favorite parts were. And I definitely want to know where you guys think they're headed with Roman and how quickly he's going to start regaining memories. Because I think this is like the first time they did it since that other episode where it was like very specific that he was supposed to remember this woman so that they could have a mission. But this is like the first time they finally decided, let's just take him out and just start, you know, showing him stuff so that he can remember random things. Hopefully remember the right random things and not the wrong random things, like him being knocked up by his own sister and finding out that the past couple of weeks have been lies. So we'll see how that plays out, but I would love to know how fast you guys think that storyline is going to progress, and you know where it might end up by the end of this season. And of course, I want to know what you guys thought about this episode in general, so please comment below, let me know, and thanks for watching.